Judy, you are more than welcome, and we will be happy to hear your presentation right now. You should be able to share it. Now it should be good, right?
Yes, it is.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm very glad to be here and to just share with everyone on the call a little bit more about what we do at Grace Health. So for those who've never heard of Grace Health before, I'll just begin with a small introduction. Grace Health is a women's health app, and the app itself is designed just mainly for women. And so women come to the app for three main reasons: either to track their period because they're trying to avoid getting pregnant, or they come to the app because they're trying to get pregnant and they need some level of guidance in tracking their ovulation dates and identifying the dates in their menstrual cycle when they're most fertile. And then lastly, we have a group of women who come to the app because they're curious about their bodies and they need to learn more about their reproductive health. And unfortunately, information online cannot always be trusted. And so they come to Grace because they can trust our information and it's written and tailored for them and for their particular needs. So Grace Health started in 2019. Mainly our focus was just giving information to women through Facebook chatbot. They would ask us about their next period date, next ovulation date, and then they would get responses. So with time, we noticed a demand in more than just giving relevant dates for their next period. And so that's when we decided to develop the app. And the app has been functional, I would say, for 1 year, 9 months now. So you can move to the next slide, please. Grace Health is the #1 women's health platform in emerging markets. So this app is particularly developed with a focus, or rather focusing on the needs of the women in emerging markets. So these are women who are based in Africa, Southeast Asia, Southern America, but so far we have only been targeting women in sub-Saharan Africa with hopes to expand to other continents by 2023. So far, we are the #1 downloaded health app across these 4 markets, Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, and Ghana. And we have 1.2 million registered users, which is I would say the number of users we've been able to get since we began with the app. So this is not inclusive of the users who are interacting with our solutions on Facebook Messenger. You can move on the next slide. So the reason why our founders saw a gap, or why they saw a gap and a need to satisfy these markets, was because women are disproportionately underserved. And when you look at women in sub-Saharan Africa, it's even worse. And most of them cannot access doctors or medical help and solutions. And even for those few who can actually access a doctor or go and seek medical attention, majority of them at 60% don't trust the hospital system. And so you find that even when they have the need to go to hospital, they delay this until it's a point of, to some extent, life and death. So we find women in these markets rarely go for checkups. They rarely go for tests or screening. So they only go to hospital, and most of the time it's usually too late. So with the app, our focus is to bridge that gap, to give women more information about their reproductive health, help them track different symptoms and signs in the app, so that we're able to also help them identify when things are not so good and when they need to seek medical attention before it's too late. We've also seen that with the 60% that don't trust hospitals, at times even when they go to hospitals, they withhold the kind of information they share with the nurses and the doctors because they're scared of being judged. So there's a very big gap when it comes to trust, and that's another focus we have at Grace Health. We have really worked hard and spent a lot of resources in ensuring that our users trust our solutions and trust Grace enough to just disclose very personal information, which to some extent they don't share with doctors and don't even share with social media platforms. We can move to the next slide. So Grace Health is the lightest app in the category at 8.3 MB. in comparison to our competitors or other apps that provide the same, almost the same solutions, I would say we are the lightest. And despite us guys being the lightest, we have not compromised on the services and experience that we offer our users. The reason we went a step further to ensure that our app remains light was because of the research at the beginning, when we identified that users in these markets have a challenge when with their phone space and data. So they're not able to have a variety of options when it comes to the apps that are on their phone. And so just to remain competitive and to ensure that our users don't feel the need to uninstall our app to replace us with another app whenever they need such a service, we maintained a very light app. So as you can see from the screen, these are different screenshots of how the app looks currently. So through the app, we're able to offer women like end-to-end experience. So the first screenshot is just an example of some of the reminders we send the user. For example, if a user is on contraceptive, then they'll get a reminder. If it's on the daily pill, they'll get a reminder to just take their pill so that they don't forget. And then the second screenshot is our homepage. And as you can see, there are boxes there. So those boxes are stories. They work the same way. Yeah, they work the same way as Facebook and Instagram stories. And we use this area to just make educational content a little bit more fun and extremely small in terms of size of content, so that it's easier for them to read through quickly but still get the point. So the third screenshot is an example of what it would look like if you pressed on one of the stories. And we have really tried to ensure that this process for women is fun, so that they can spend as much time in the app as possible. For us, daily active users, monthly active users are some of our KPIs, and we have these processes so that we ensure that the user has a reason to come to the app more than once, more than twice a week, not when they're just tracking their period or when they're tracking ovulation. And you'll see that with most period apps, users normally go back to the app maybe once a month when they just need to track that they're getting their period. But with our app, because of this engaging gamification, you find that a user has a reason to come back more often. So we have polls, a way of educating users and engaging them can be through polls. We have surveys, we have short, engaging, bite-sized information, and we also have links in the stories to take someone or redirect someone to the blog post. So let's say you're trying to learn about cervical cancer. So there'll be a story, just a short story. You'll move through a few stories with the same sort of flowing data. And at the end, there'll be a call to action. If you want to read more information, you press on the link and then you go to the full blog post where you're able to read more. And then the fourth screenshot is our Grace chat. This is an AI chatbot. I would say this is one of the favorites for our users. The chatbot allows our users to just come in and ask questions and get automated responses. Again, we recently carried out like a user feedback, and one of the interesting things we learned is majority of our users feel like when they're chatting in the Grace chatbot, like they're talking to an actual person. And they come here and ask questions about their period, about they sometimes ask about symptoms and diseases, and we continuously work to ensure that whatever they ask, the chatbot understands and is able to respond. We've also been able to write for the African woman and understand the way they type and ask questions, so that the responses are always relevant and information that they can easily understand. Remember also, majority of, I would say, health information can tend to be very complex with a lot of medical jargon. So something else we do is write for her in a language that she can easily understand and relate to. And then the fifth screenshot is an example of how someone would be able to track discharge through the app. So there are a number of things you can track apart from periods and ovulation, which is usually in the calendar. The other things you can track, is your discharge, sexual activity, breast tenderness, your mood, among other things. So why this is important for our users, because these are some of the places where we are able to identify if they need to seek medical attention. And an example would be if a user was to track that they have an unusual color or smelly discharge, then in the AI, they would get an automated message saying that that is not usual, and maybe refer them to one of our partner clinics so that they can seek medical attention. And then the last screenshot is a screenshot of our wallet. So we have an incentivizing program for our users just to reward, I would say, good behavior. Whenever a user comes to the app to engage with our content or invite a friend to join the app, respond to a survey, they earn grace coins. And the grace coins can be redeemed whenever they need to seek medical attention from our partner clinics, which I'll share more information about in a minute. We can move to the next slide. So I've basically talked about Grace when it comes to the users, and now I want to just shift a little bit and talk about Grace Health and how we do business, like the revenue side of things and how we relate to businesses in terms of a B2B angle. So first and foremost, we are building an unprecedented data bank, solving the enormous data gap on women in emerging markets. So there's very little data currently for women in general, like across the world. And it's even worse when it comes to reproductive health. And I would say worse or more worse when it comes to women in emerging markets. Only 4% of global funding goes to research and development for women's reproductive health. And so there's a huge gap and a need to understand and identify with women in these markets. We have seen that from research, our own research in the app, that when it comes to products and services, for example, skincare, women in emerging markets feel like the manufacturers leave them out. Solutions are not created for them. The manufacturers don't take into consideration some of the details that make them different in comparison to the Western woman. For example, they don't take into consideration maybe the texture of their hair. They don't take into consideration the texture of their skin. And so when these products are in the market, you find that, yes, they're available, but they're not what they need or what they desire. And in the event that there are few products that have gone out of their way to maybe personalize the product a little bit for the African woman, they still feel like there's a generalization that all African skin now is the same. And using our platform, this is the kind of information you can easily gather, because one, we have women in the platform, 1.2 million women, sorry, to reach out to and just understand them more, again, from different countries and backgrounds, which gives a very, I would say, well-balanced sort of data. And also the ability to reach out to these women in real time. For example, what maybe will be relevant and reliable in terms of data for these markets today might not be as relevant in 5 years, because things are really changing quickly. And because we collect data real time, you're able to work with data that is relevant and reliable. Yeah, we can move to the next slide. So apart from providing data, our other focus is behavioral change. So this is our science-based process for sustainable health impact. And we have worked, and also we're in the process of discussions with some of the pharmaceutical companies that wish to engage in a process that offers some sort of sustainable health impact or a sort of social change. So I'll give you an example with, I've already given an example with cervical cancer. Let me move to another example so that it's easier to understand. Let's say a pharmaceutical company is trying to promote their contraceptive brand. So they want more women to go out there and get contraceptives, and preferably long-term contraceptives. So they come to Grace Health, and that's the kind of service they acquire from us. What we do in the very beginning, we start by discovery. A lot of research goes into this. we go ahead and engage our users just to identify where they are at this particular point. A topic like contraceptives in Africa is, I would say, not very well understood by majority of users. And so at this particular point, we would ask questions about what they know about contraceptives, what they think about them, have they used them, and so forth. And then depending on the information we receive, I will give you an example. With contraceptives, the first sort of survey we did, we realized that majority of women believe that contraceptives can affect their fertility. So they are worried and scared of using long-term contraceptives because they're worried that they will not be able to have children when they get to the stage where they want to have kids. So once we have identified where the problem is and their current, I would say, belief system, then we move on to transforming them. So here we just give them information that is relevant, and also I would say what we call myth busting. So we're just correcting what they have always known and letting them know what is like the real information out there. And one of the reasons why they trust us with Grace at Grace is because we give them the truth. For us, it's very important that the user understands all their options. For example, if you were to go on a long-term contraceptive and maybe you want to have a child in 5 years, majority of the manufacturers recommend that you might need to discontinue usage a few months or a year before so that the process is successful. So we make sure that they have all the information they need. And in the process, we are able to create a certain shift in belief and shift in behavior. And they are able to take action and visit some of our partner clinics and acquire contraceptive. So that, I would say, goal one is achieved. But then for us, it doesn't end there. Remember, with the app, we own our users. They are our users even after they acquire a certain solution. So we take it a step further and ensure that we still engage these users. For example, still in the line of contraceptive, there are certain side effects that users sometimes experience. And research shows that these experiences have caused them to discontinue long-term contraceptive. So because we were able to maybe anticipate through research and just engaging our users, we serve them with content that is relevant even after they have received contraceptive. We tell them to watch out for certain symptoms. We let them know which symptoms are normal and to be expected. And we just allow that opportunity for them to give us feedback and just record the kind of symptoms that they're experiencing. Again, all this data across all 4 stages in the user journey is very relevant to pharmaceutical companies. And this is the kind of information we share back with a pharmaceutical company that has engaged us. We can move on to the next slide, please. One thing maybe you would be wondering or asking, so this is the sort of information you would think that any research company would go out there and get. But I would say that one thing that sets this process at Grace Health apart from other sorts of gathering research data is the fact that the power of self-tracking is in the hand of the user. So yes, they do the tracking themselves. And because we have made the process benefit the user, they don't track because it benefits Grace Health as a business. They track because they identify that when I track, I'm able to get better predictions for when my next period is. I'm able to also learn more about my body, know the products that work for me, know what to expect when I'm trying to have a child, learn more about the kind of cancers that would affect me at a certain age in my reproductive health journey. And so when they give us this information, they don't give us or they don't track so that we benefit, they track because it benefits them. And also when it comes to our B2B aspect, we believe that collecting both health and non-health information and combining self-tracking with event data is the best approach to deliver accurate reproductive health data. So in this case, it's not just what they track, but again, when they track. And also not just about their period, but also the other things they track. They track about I would say, quantity or quality of their blood during menstrual cycle. And when you combine all this information, then you find it's data that is extremely valuable, especially to organizations that are in the process of developing any sort of product or solution for this particular market. We can move to the next slide. Okay, so for this process to make sense to our users and for Grace Health coins that sit in their wallet to make sense, we partner with healthcare providers. We do this so that whenever a user has Grace coins and they need to speak to a doctor, then there's need for them to come back to the Grace Health app and seek medical assistance from the app. Otherwise, then they would just feel sick and just walk to another clinic. But because there are Grace coins and they're able to get subsidized healthcare with the Grace coins, they usually come back to the app and they will chat with the chatbot, or in the homepage, you'll just find a link to book an appointment with our partners. They get discounted whenever they visit one of our partners from and mention that they are referred from Greece. And we've also enabled a sort of automated process where they have a unique code that they represent to the partner clinic, and they're able to get services at a discounted rate. Again, we do this because it's important for us to track how many users go to the different clinics. This again is very relevant information when we are sending our reports to our B2B partners. So far in Nigeria, we have 160 clinics, 270 in Kenya, 150 in Ghana, and 7 clinics currently in South Africa. And this is an ongoing process. We aim to ensure that all our users have access to a clinic close by so that it's easy and accessible whenever they need to speak to a doctor. And what we've seen is the easier it is, the more chances for them to visit one of the healthcare providers in our network. Next slide, please, which I think is my last. Yes. So thank you so much. Once again, I've come to the end of my presentation at exactly 5:30. I don't know if there are any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Judy, for sharing details about Grace Health app and how a user-friendly and nice app really can fill in the gap for women's health and well-being. It's amazing. It's amazing. I have one question for you, and it is, what is the biggest challenge that the app overcomes in the field of women's health? You've shared a little bit about this in the beginning of your presentation, but yes, please.
So the reason why we target particularly women in emerging markets is because of accessibility to information. We live in an information age, and you'd assume that it's very easy for people to learn new things and just get in the know of the things that they're interested in. But one thing we realized is with the women we target, solutions such as Google cannot even give them the feedback or information they need because they don't even know what to search for. So you see, Google only responds to things you ask. And so when they use our app, we're able to give them information that they have not even asked for, which is extremely relevant and important to their reproductive health journey. So I would say the most unique solution that we offer is information accessibility.
Great, thank you. And you've mentioned also that you're planning entering other markets. What are they? Are you planning to come to Europe? And do you think that the app will have the same success, having in mind the specific context of sub-Saharan Africa?
So far we first want to expand into other countries in sub-Saharan Africa, and then next we will be looking at emerging markets in Southeast Asia. So whenever we will go, we will focus on the same need, targeting women in, I would say, medium and small economies. We're not going for the woman in the Western world because some of these solutions would not be relevant for them, and they also have other apps that are more tailored for their needs and experience. So Grace Health is particularly just tailored for women in emerging markets.
I love the word tailored. If you want to work, it should be really specifically tailored for a specific country, population, education, religion. Yes.
Yes.
And my last question is related to health equity. If you could have a shout out to the digital therapeutics industry as a whole, what can the other players learn from Grace Health? So probably it's about one of your great characteristics. What can the other learn from Grace Health?
I think what I love most about Grace Health is the need and drive to be user centric. So all businesses operate to make money, which is a fact. But one thing I believe and enjoy about working at Grace Health is our focus and commitment to the user journey. And you find that once you keep the users, because the app is designed for users, and so when you keep the users happy, then everything else flows. So being user centric, I would say, would be the most important lesson they can learn from Grace Health.
Great. Tailored made and user centric. I love this,
Yes.
Judy. Thank you very much for your contribution and good luck with all your activities. You are doing great things there.
Thank you so much for having me
Congratulations.
and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
everyone.
you
Bye.
too. Bye bye.